Jeffries and Company, established 2005, is a brand organization that works for systematic change. We work towards boosting education through our culture, starting from grade school age children, teenage schoolers, higher learners, and those in alternative completion programs like GED. What we do for those individuals and groups is we record content, mostly reading aloud to the listener. We create a study environment with real textbook reading, not lecturing, so the listener or reader is able to focus on subjects with a quality of effort. So without further ado or delay, I present GED Studying for the GED. It is important for you to choose the time and place for studying that works best for you. Some students may set aside a certain number of hours every morning to study, while others may choose to study at night before going to sleep. Other students may study during the day while waiting in line, or they may even study while eating lunch. Only you will be able to determine when and where your studying is most effective. The most important factor to keep in mind is consistency. Use your time wisely. Work out a study routine and stick to it. When you take the practice test, try to make your practice conditions similar to actual testing conditions. Make sure you turn the television and radio off. Sit down at a quiet table, which is free from distraction, and time yourself. Afterwards, you should check each answer and thoroughly review the reasoning behind each question that you missed. You should not review too much at one time. Concentrate on each of your problem areas individually until you feel comfortable with your ability in each of those areas. Do not write in the margins and spaces of this book when practicing, since you will not be able to write in the test booklet when taking the actual test. Also, make sure you do not write anything on your answer sheet except to mark the answer you choose. Make sure the question numbers correctly correspond to the question numbers on the answer sheet. You will be able to gauge your progress and discover general weaknesses in particular sections. You should carefully study the reviews that cover the areas which are causing you difficulty. This will help you build your skills in those areas. GED test taking tips. You may be unfamiliar with standardized tests, such as the GED. There are many ways for you to familiarize yourself with this type of examination. Listed below are points to help you become familiar with the GED, some of which may be applied to other standardized tests as well. How to beat the clock. Become comfortable with the standardized format. When you are practicing to take the GED, pretend that you are under the same time constraints as you would be during the test. Stay calm, pace yourself, and pay attention to the clock. Practice these techniques thoroughly. After simulating the test only a few times, you will boost your chances of doing well, and you will be able to sit down for the actual GED much more confidently. Become familiar with the directions. Make sure you read and understand the directions before you take the exam so that you do not waste valuable testing time. Know the format for each section before you actually take the test. This will not only save you valuable time, but also ensure that you are familiar enough with the exam to avoid anxiety. Be sure to see details on the GED format elsewhere in this introduction. Work on the easier questions first. Mark the very difficult questions and continue. Remember, only correct answers will be counted in your score. You will not be penalized for guessing. So when you have either answered or marked all the questions, go back and answer any of the difficult questions that you may have skipped. If you find yourself working too long on the question, mark it and go on. Be sure that you are marking your answer in the space that corresponds to the number of the question in the test booklet. Know how much time is allowed for each section. Remember that you are racing against the clock. This is why you should not spend too much time on a single question. Budget your time. Every question has the same value, whether it is difficult or easy. So it is important to move on if a question becomes too time consuming. Pace yourself and make sure to check your time periodically to make sure that you are progressing at a swift, steady rate. Should I guess? If you don't know the answer to a question, guess. Eliminate answers that you know are wrong and then pick the best answer from the ones that remain. If you cannot eliminate any answers, guess anyway. Remember that there is no penalty for guessing, and only correct answers are counted. This means that you should never leave an answer choice blank. If you guess correctly, you will increase your number of correct answers. And if you guess wrong, you will not lose any points. The day of the test. On the day of the test, you should wake up early and have a good breakfast. Make sure you dress comfortably so that you are not distracted by being too hot or too cold while taking the exam. You should plan on arriving at the test center early. By being early, you will spare yourself the anxiety of being late for the test. It will also allow you to collect your thoughts and to relax before taking the exam. Before you leave for the test center, make sure that you have 2 forms of identification. You will not be admitted to the test center without identification. Acceptable forms of identification include a driver's license, social security card, birth certificate, passport, and green card. Make sure you bring at least 2 sharpened number 2 pencils with erasers to the exam. You may want to wear a watch to the test center. However, only ordinary watches will be permitted. Watches with alarms, calculator functions, flashing lights, beeping sounds, etc. will not be allowed. In addition, neither food nor calculators will be allowed into the examination room. During the test, when you arrive at the test center, try to sit in a seat where you feel you will be comfortable. The GED is usually administered during 2 or 3 sittings. Depending on your test center, no breaks are given during the exam. If you need to use the restroom or if you become ill, you may leave the examination room, but you will not be allowed to make up any lost time. Once you enter the test center, follow all the rules and instructions given by the test supervisor. If you do not, you risk being dismissed from the examination or having your GED scores voided. When all of the test materials have been passed out, the test instructor will give you directions for filling out your answer sheet. You must fill out this sheet carefully, since this information will be printed on your score report. Fill out your name exactly as it appears on your identification documents and admission ticket, unless otherwise instructed. Make sure you do not write in your test booklet or on your answer sheet, except to fill in the circle corresponding to the answer of your choice. Scratch paper will be provided. You will be marking your answers on side 2 of your answer sheet. Each numbered row will contain 5 circles corresponding to each answer choice for that question. Fill in the circle which corresponds to your answer darkly, completely, and in a neat manner. You can change your answer, but remember to completely erase your old answer. Only one answer should be marked. This is very important, as your answer sheet will be machine scored, and stray lines or unnecessary marks may cause the machine to score your answers incorrectly. Only work on the test section on which the test instructor has instructed you to work. You should begin only when instructed to do so, and stop immediately when instructed to stop. Do not turn to the next section of the test until you are told to do so. When all the sections have been completed, you should remain seated until all the test materials have been collected. Good luck on the GED and your higher learning and your educational paths. As a parent, I know the struggles of teenagers and the trifleness that they exhibit. What this page is about is keeping it by the book and reading to the youth-minded in an effort to obtain and keep knowledge for educational purposes. Because without knowledge for educational purposes, our decision-making skills will lead us down and far in the wrong direction.